Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. We're going to keep trucking along. I want to keep doing this, getting some really good insights on some people, talking about people we haven't talked about a ton. And I get to add these guys to my notes, which is fantastic. I have started to build up some pretty cool stuff here. So we're going to do part 3 that Bob McGinn has done. Again, you can find this in its full text. I'm not reading it word for word, so if you want to see it all laid out in its glory and have it at your, whenever you want it or whatever, head over to golongtd.com. That's Tyler Dunn's thing. I would certainly encourage you going and subscribing to that. But part 3 is offensive tackles, inside the hunt for the next great left tackle. Now, you feel like you could argue that this is something to just skip over or whatever, but it's obviously not. I don't think they're going to draft a tackle early, but do I think they're going O-line? First of all, let's acknowledge that last year they didn't do O-line. 2 to 3 years prior, they're getting like 3 offensive linemen every year, right? I mean, as in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, I can't remember. And we saw a complete lack of depth. So they kind of got to get back on the ball with getting offensive linemen. Now, is the need more interior or tackle? It's probably interior. We saw last year that we brought a tackle in Telford in to play interior because we just had nobody else. With that said, the Packers like to draft tackles and convert them to interior guys. So we're going to cover both. The tackles, the guards, the centers, all that stuff. And also, I don't want to rule out them going tackle early. I think it was Jacob Westendorf, kind of surprised me, but he had us taking a tackle in the first round. I didn't read the article to figure out his reasoning. I was just kind of looking through the most recent 7-round mock drafts and whatnot. Actually, the 2 biggest surprises I saw were both Jacob Westendorf. But it's possible. I mean, if you don't think Rashid is the answer, or whatever the case may be, maybe you're still just looking at quality offensive line improvements, find a guy that can play outside, inside, and just let it all work itself out. I don't know. But either way, we got to know. Because, as I've said 1,000 times now, the last thing you want to do, especially if you're a Packer fan, is to just narrow it down to, well, it's definitely going to be one of these, like 5. Because guess what? It's not going to be one of those 5. I can almost promise you that. So, all right. This is the thing we're doing. And again, we'll see how much time is left after. We have, how many tackles does he have? There's 10. So they have their top 10, and again, we'll compare it to the consensus big board to kind of see where McGinn / the scouts, because that's where I think a lot of his opinions come from, kind of view things. And then there's the next 5. So there's 15 total that we're going to take a look at today. I do want to read the beginning of this because I think it's pretty interesting stuff. He says, the golden age of offensive tackles in the NFL draft covered a span of 5 years 3 decades ago. Regarded as can't-miss prospects as collegians, 5 players exceeded their immense expectations, forging sterling pro careers that culminated with bronze busts in Canton. Is this guy an award-winning writer or not? I think so. In chronological draft order, the 5-some numbered Willie Roaf, number 8, in 1993, Tony Baselli, number 2, 1995, Jonathan Ogden, number 4 in 1996, Orlando Pace, number 1 in 1997, and Walter Jones, number 6 in 1997. The demand for dancing bears to block the ever-increasing explosiveness of edge rushers has never been higher. In the first 55 years of the common draft, only once, in 2013, had as many as 9 offensive linemen been selected in the first round. Desperate teams drafted 9 O-linemen in round 1 in 2 of the past 3 drafts. You go through these rosters, an executive in personnel for an AFC team said, these linemen are pathetic that are playing in the NFL. Okay. Again, if you're new here, these guys don't mince words. To put it mildly, every team is digging for giants with agility. What they're seeing this spring is a good, not great cluster of tackles, better than most years, but of course, teams always want more. So that's good to hear. And again, Just like we want a tight end or a wide receiver, right? Not a good wide receiver class. You want a tight end? It's like, not really. That's a really good tight end class. Frickin' maybe. You guys want any offensive line? Like, I don't know. A tackle? How about D-line? It's like, it's better offensive tackle. Like, dang it, dude. It's freaking stupid. But again, you get to the point of picking, and the very best player is a tackle. Are you telling me with 100% certainty Gutekunst isn't going to pull the trigger on a tackle? Not saying I think it's going to happen, because I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm also saying it's not an impossibility. This is a mixed bag, the AFC personnel man said. If you talk to 10 people, you get 10 different orders, I'm sure. There are very few left tackles. There are some very good right tackles, and there's some tackles that will probably end up playing guard. Now, that's good for us. Maybe. Again, we should have that all worked out. I mean, we just paid a guy $1 billion to be our left guard. We're paying a guy $1 billion to be our center in Elton Jenkins. And the right guard had better be first-round pick Jordan Morgan. So there shouldn't be a lot of pressing need. Because if we draft somebody that starts on the interior, what the heck is going on? Unless Jordan Morgan's playing tackle, somewhere along the line, we've made a massive mistake, which is my main objection here, with Rashid being the only kind of outlier. But again, he's a top 10 pass blocker. Good luck replacing him. Finally, it says, there are no Ogdens, Basellis, Walter Joneses, but in today's football, these guys go in the top 10, 15, or top 20. All right, so the top tackle on the consensus board is Will Campbell, although Armani Mims is flying up the boards, and I am seeing a lot of mock drafts with Mims going first. I don't mean first overall, I mean first among tackles. That's actually very common. However, Will Campbell is at 6, Mims is at 8. Those are the top two. According to McGinn, Will Campbell is number 1. This is a guy that very likely will be outside of the range of us being able to pick him. However, just like the guy said, it's very similar to a lot of other positions as well, like edge rusher. It really depends who likes what. One of these guys, or multiple of these guys, might end up falling just because, if Mims goes first, maybe somebody else likes Kelvin Banks, probably a right tackle, but maybe that's what they need, and somebody else needs a tackle, but they also need edge, so they take an edge. You just don't know. But Will Campbell out of LSU, third-year junior who started all 38 games at left tackle. He's super talented, can do it all. He's quick, has feet, he's athletic. His technique's real good. In the run game, he can position or jolt people. In pass pro, he can mirror. He's got Pro Bowl talent. Described as having an incredible interview, quote, he sounded like a head coach at a P4 school. 32-inch vertical jump, 9.5 broad jump. Great kid, said one scout from a farming family in Monroe, Louisiana. Here are the negatives. Of course, like all tackles, nobody ever has long enough arms. Arms 32 and 5/8 inches and hands 9.5 inches are the shortest and smallest among the top tackles. Quote, he'll give up some pressures every so often on an inside move, mostly. One scout believes he's better suited for right tackle or guard. Quote, if you take him as a left tackle, you're going to be disappointed. Another scout said, you can find plenty of negative reps on this kid, whiffs and misses and getting pushed back. Now, already, it's getting interesting because they have number 2, Kelvin Banks. Again, Mims was beyond Kelvin Banks, but he has been skyrocketing, largely because of the combine, which might sort of be a false thing. Everybody's freaking out, kind of like, what's the edge rusher? I can't remember. The guy that I said is Rashawn Gary. He's skyrocketing too. But it was because of a combine, and then you might find that he kind of settles back down, which he already is. I'm seeing him get mocked at or beyond the Packers, which some people say is crazy because he runs fast, but it's not crazy. Mims might be similar. He skyrockets because of his great combine. Everyone says he's going to go early, and then maybe he doesn't. But Kelvin Banks out of Texas, third-year junior, 3-year starter, 42 games at left tackle. Quote, he's got the size and strength to both block in the run game and enough size and foot agility to protect the passer. His arms are 33.5 inches, hands are 10 3/8 inches. A guy that's athletic, liked his size and power and had good feet. A really well-rounded offensive lineman. The negatives. He's got sort of a right tackle's features. Not terrible if you're looking for a right tackle. He does look like a guard, but let him fail at tackle first. These guys. I feel bad for the tackles, man. They get beat up every year. Like, I was really good, right? It's like, you're short and fat and stupid. Shut up. You're a guard, you loser. I'm sorry. I don't see it in this guy at all. Big dude, average athlete, gets beat a lot, falls off blocks, not very strong, not very athletic, has issues in space. That is a heck of a ringing endorsement there. But then at 3, we get Armani Mims. Now, to be fair, these are the top 3. So the top 2 are Campbell and Mims in the consensus board. Kelvin Banks is by himself at 15. Then Josh Simmons is kind of by himself at 24. Then you drop to 37 for Josh Conerly, 43. So it's kind of spaced out. Every 10 picks or so, you get another one, starting at 8. And then there's kind of a big drop down to Cam Williams and Wyatt Millum, and we'll get to all that. But agreements on the top 3, at least. Armani Mims, Missouri. Positives here, /notes. Third-year junior, 2.5 years starter at right tackle. For a big fella, he's a real good athlete, light on his feet. He can bend, he's quick, plays with good position, uses his length well. He's never on the ground, he's strong, finishes in the run game and moves well in space. Excelled on bench with 31 reps and a vert of 34 inches. He's a hell of a right tackle. Arms 33.5 inches, hands were 9.75 inches. He's got big-time feet and range. 4-star recruit from Lee Summit, Missouri, turns 21 on March 26, 2025, which is fantastic. The negatives, not overpowering and not real mean. Struggles when power rushers get into his chest. Wish he had a little more pop on contact. Anchor's kind of average. The instincts are kind of average. I don't think he's a walk-in starter. I think it will take a little bit of time. Then, gets super crazy. He goes straight to Arianti Ursi. I mean, and again, it's not that crazy. It's just crazy because of how, everything is exactly the same out in the media. It's never that way, but very crazy as compared to seeing Ursi go before Josh Simmons and Josh Conerly. But Arianti Ursi out of Minnesota started the final 38 games at left tackle. Quotes from scouts, he's gigantic, but he can play. He's got feet and excellent balance. He's real smart. The technique's there. Uses his hands excellent. I think that's a sentence. Run game. He's so dang big, and he can possess and can position and really just move it. In pass pro, he knows he's big and uses his length perfectly. Big, long, athletic, fluid in space. Had a good week at the Senior Bowl. Excellent knee bend and foot quickness in his pass sets. Good extension to get his hands inside and control. Showed ability to anchor with power and can move defenders in the run game. He's a better athlete than Fealele, who is not very good, by the way. He's an easy mover, light on his feet, pretty good space player for a big guy. I think Fealele went to Minnesota as well. Maybe that's the comp. I don't know. Negatives. He's a little high-hipped and stiff-hipped. Didn't start playing football until his junior year of high school. Arms 33 1/8, hands 9.5. He can get a little lackadaisical at time with his technique, steps, and pad level. We were concerned about laziness, lack of discipline, and for process. You question his awareness a little bit. He's very stiff. I wouldn't say he's had a checkered past, but he's had some little character things. Don't know exactly what that means, but it's something to keep an eye on, I guess. Anyways, let's take a break. We'll come back and rip through the rest of these fellas. We'll be right back. At number 5, they have Josh Conerly, which is the same as on the consensus board, except for the fact that we've skipped someone. But that's all right. We'll get there. Some of the details. Third-year junior, 2-year starter, shifted from running back to O-line as a high school sophomore in Seattle. Arms 33.5 inches, hands 10 3/8 inches. Started at left tackle, opposite right tackle Johnny Cornelius. Some of the positives noted. If you need a left tackle, he would be it. He has the agility and athletic ability to protect the blind side. He's only going to get better. Great kid, very young. Played well against Penn State's Abdul Carter. Really jumped out. And that's a big one, especially for pass rush and whatnot. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's Alec Ayaman, or I'm going to go back and... So I don't know if you saw, I did a highlight video of Trey Harris. If you're on X, I might throw it on Facebook and some other places just in case you're not on there or whatever. But it was a fun little project to kind of put some stuff together, and I made up a stupid song and put it to it. But it really is just kind of grabbing when I do a highlight like that, it's grabbing the stuff that stands out to me. Most highlights are like, 20-yard gain, touchdown, this, that. Some of those are not impressive, though. I had a lot of incomplete passes on my highlight reel because it was awesome, right? He just beats two guys down the field incomplete. There was another one where the ball didn't even come to him, but just the feet to get off the line, to be untouched, and then the route to the inside. I'm sure most people look at that and be like, why would that be on it? Because it's freaking dope, dude. That stands out to me. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's Alec Aomanor. He went up against Travis Hunter and whooped the living dog crap out of him. I might just do a highlight of just that because he actually went up against somebody else, beat him so badly that they moved Hunter over there, and he just beat Hunter like a freaking redheaded stepchild, which it's always funny because every time I say that, I don't know, people get mad at me, but it's a saying, and I'm going to keep saying it, so shut up. Not saying I would beat a redheaded stepchild. I'm just saying that apparently it's something that people do for fun, and so we got to talk about it. That's all. Point is, though, yeah, if you want to see somebody at their best, if you want to check out a tackle, watch him against guys like Abdul Carter. If he can beat Abdul Carter, it could just be a one-off, but that's a big deal. It's why things like the Senior Bowl are a big deal, especially for smaller school guys. You want to see best on best and see how they perform. Anyways, a better pass pro than run blocker. You better watch out. Green Bay, man. Think about it. They went to Oregon. They had the whole crew there. He's a left tackle. Better pass blocker than run blocker. Really good kid, high character. I'm just saying. He's just getting by on his guile and craftiness. I don't know exactly what that means. If you're asking a guy as a rookie to protect the blind side, he would be a really good option. Now, on to the negatives. Not super talented. Not a gifted athlete. Ooh, that might have put him out of the running for Mr. Gutekunst. For comment on both Oregon tackles, they really went up and down all year. They just really struggled with second moves in the pass game. It was a struggle getting those kids to practice hard, go hard, and play hard. He'll have to get better at his strength in the run game if he wants to become a long-time Pro Bowl player. He doesn't have inline strength and power to displace vertically. Struggled in the Senior Bowl game. It's not great. He'd be on my all overrated list. Has some athleticism, but didn't play smart, didn't play with good technique. I love this. I love how ridiculous this all is. All right, finally at number 6 is Josh Simmons. To be clear, he is number 4 on the consensus board out of Ohio State and 24th overall. So, again, I don't know if they think Josh Simmons is a first-round pick, but there's just a lot of other really talented guys, or if they do not think Josh Simmons should be in the first-round conversation. In fact, being beyond Conerly and Ozzie, I don't know for sure because everybody else would be a third-round pick so far on the consensus board. So I don't know if they think he's a first, second, or third-round pick, but here we are at 6. He suffered a torn patellar tendon in Game 6 and underwent season-ending surgery on October 12th. He's a fourth-year senior, redshirted in 2021, started 13 games at right tackle in 2022, 19 at left tackle in 23 through 24. Hands 10 inches, 4-star recruit as a guard from San Diego. Arm length is 33 inches. Positives. He's the best athlete in the group and maybe the best in the last few years. That's a heck of a statement. He is what you want. The movement is just easy for him. He also got some grit to him. Pro Bowl talent. He's an outstanding athlete. He can stick and stay in space. He has sustain. He can kick out in line, well-rounded tackle. He's a natural athlete and a knee bender. He's got quickness, balance, and body control, real light on his feet. He can pull and get to the second level. Negatives. Injury concern. Patellar tendon can be longer than ACL. Lacks some pop and power. Removed from consideration by one team for makeup issues. What? like Caleb Williams makeup or something else? I don't know what that means. I got to go back to the article because I don't know if AI censored this or if Bob McGinn. I can't imagine Bob McGinn censored it. No, it's censored. The sentence is kind of a F. I have a couple thoughts on what that could be. I have to assume it's effer, but I don't. It could be something else. I don't know. Kind of an F. His issues are more football character. He has a complete BS sense of urgency, like a total finesse player. Mental is an issue. Lacks power, struggles to anchor, fundamentals are poor. Plays like a guy that was at JUCO and just came here. So the crazy thing about this, it makes me think there might be these guys might all be first-round prospects. And the reason I say that is because the positive is more important than the negative. The people that don't like him aren't going to draft him. What matters is the people that really like him. And so, yeah, some people are looking at this saying, I don't like it, BS sense of urgency, all that stuff. But listen to the positives and tell me that the team saying this doesn't want him in the first round. Now, this might be the number 2 overall team that's in no way going to be drafting him in the first round. But let's just say half the league feels this way. It's hard to imagine a guy like this getting out of the first round. Let me just real quickly go through it again. Best athlete in the group, maybe the best in the last few years. Pro Bowl talent, outstanding athlete, natural athlete, knee bender, quickness, balance, body control. He can pull and get to the second level. So the guys that hate him freaking hate him. But man, you listen to them talk about the top 4, 5, 6 guys. Campbell, Membeau, Banks, Simmons, Conerly, and Ozzie. I could absolutely see those 6 going in the first round. Probably won't, because, again, you got the same kind of thing with the edges and the quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, whatever. But man, some of these scouts are in love with some of these guys. Kind of just depends who's there with who likes who, whatever. Anyways, number 7, really interesting. So to be clear, the next on the list would be Cameron Williams out of Texas at 67, then Wyatt Millam, West Virginia at 68, then Emory Jones, offensive tackle at 74. They skip all of those guys and have at number 7, Ozzie Trapio out of Boston College. He is number 89 on the consensus. Now, it's a pretty tight group here. These are all third-round picks, 67, 68, 74, 89. But anyway, and by the way, it's important that we do this too, just as a kind of preparing us for reality. The Packers are going to draft somebody. I'm not saying they're going to, but they very commonly at pick, let's say 23, usually it's a little later, somebody that's consensus 43. Oh, it was a terrible reach. You got to understand, though, the way that these teams view, again, the consensus across all 32 teams is generally the same, but on a very specific level, there are some big differences. It might just be this guy over here. Again, if you average it out across the 32 teams, the consensus boards are going to be very similar. But man, you're going to have some guys looking at Ozzie Trapio as an early second-round pick. Some of them probably don't even want him. You know what I mean? There are first-round picks that aren't even on some people's boards for one reason or another. Anyways, fifth-year senior, redshirted in 2020 before starting 2 games in 2021, 10 games at left tackle in 2022, and 24 at right tackle in 23 and 24. His father, Steve, was drafted in the 4th round by the New Orleans Saints in 1987 and started 52 games over 4 years as a road grading guard. I appreciate that. 3-time All-Conference academic selection with a master's degree in finance. That's cool. From Norwell, Massachusetts. That kind of checks out. 6'8", 319. That's a freaking massive human being. Positives. He's just mammoth, dense, technically sound enough so he can compensate for that arm length. Of course, we got to worry about that. He's a plug-and-play starter, great football character, leader, tone setter for that program. Above average athlete, really good body control, great strength, good bend for a guy that's 6'8". I wonder if a 6'8" guy could play inside. Probably not ideal, but it's intriguing. This guy is a ready-made NFL-type prospect. For the most part, this guy is not going to get beat too often, just a real steady Eddie. Exceptional kid, did a pretty good job at the Senior Bowl. He's going to say and do all the right things. You'll want him in your locker room. I appreciate that. Everything they said is awesome. Of course, we're going to get to the negatives, and I'm going to hate them, but that's a good list. You'd probably like a little better arm length, 33 inches. Shut up. More of a right tackle than a true left tackle. Don't care. Limitations are first step quickness, questionable length. Once in a while, you see an elite edge rusher that's able to get on him, and he struggled to recover. These are not terrible. Not super gifted, but he kind of gets the job done. If you need a right tackle, he'll be a 4th or 5th starter. Plug in and play and probably be okay. If you overdraft him at 23 or something, you'll be like, oh boy. It's interesting they said 23. But it's also interesting that the negative is, oh, you better not take him in the first round. Who's even talking about that? I'm trying to figure out if he's a 3rd or 4th round pick, and you're like, you better not take him. Like, are you calling him a 2nd round pick? Is that a negative here? At number 8, interestingly enough, on the consensus board, he is the number 5 interior offensive lineman. So they've already made the determination here that he is not going to be playing tackle, but he's listed as a tackle here on this list. Marcus Mbo, not to be confused with Membo, out of Purdue. 3-star recruit from Wauwatosa East High School in Milwaukee. That's interesting. Played in 4 games as a freshman. That's how you know I'm in Wisconsin. I can pronounce that, Wauwatosa. Starting at right guard in 2022 and at right tackle in 2023 and 2024. Missed half the 2023 season with a fractured leg. That sucks. 32-inch arms is why he's kicked inside for sure. Hands 10.5 inches. Got pretty big hands. Positives. Really, really good athlete. Agile, quick, smart, works, got some nastiness to him. He reminds me of Zach Tom. Oh, boy. He has 3rd-round ability, undersized with good quickness, speed, and burst. He's got a lot of traits. He can get out in space and run and pull and get to the 2nd level easy. Negatives. He just needs to build up his body and get stronger. Purdue was awful. It's not really a negative on him. I don't think he can survive out there at tackle because of his size and length. It's questionable whether or not he'll be physical enough against bigger defensive tackles. Had major problems trying to withstand bull rushes at the Senior Bowl practice. I thought he was weak as water in some of those reps at the Senior Bowl. Just lacks strength to engage in the line of scrimmage. I don't think he's strong enough yet for guard. So not long enough for tackle, not strong enough for guard is kind of the concern here. But it sounds like he's very likable, right? He's got traits like Zach Tom. It's just a question of what exactly do you do with him. All right, at number 9, where is our dude here? Oh, he's another interior guy. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, number 8 interior offensive lineman. They have him as the number 9 tackle, and that's Charles Grant out of William and Mary. Back up in 2020 before starting for 3.5 seasons at left tackle. Arm length 34 3/4 was the longest of the top 10 tackles. So I don't know why he's listed as a guard here, but must be other reasons. Hands 10 1/4 inches, 19 reps on the bench, team captain from Portsmouth, Virginia. Positives. He's a nice project. He's as athletic as any guy in the offensive line group. Damn, he looks good moving around. He's got great length. He's very interesting. He's a true left tackle. I was really impressed with his feet and his length. I think he's a future starter. He can really move, very good pass protector. Negatives. His big problem is he's had a hard time putting on and holding weight. That does actually have to be kind of tough. It sounds ridiculous from my vantage point. Like, bro, you can't keep on weight? What are you, stupid? But the amount of athletic activity they have to do, you got to do some eating. He just needs to get stronger. He's coming from a smaller school, and people might doubt that a little. And then the final of the top 10 is Miles Hinton out of Michigan. And that's a super crazy one because Miles Hinton is, we've skipped a ton of tackles. A ton. He is consensus board 314. Not even, like, he's a clear undrafted free agent according to the consensus board. Now, again, when you get outside of the top 100, it gets iffy. When you get outside of the top 200, it gets super iffy. There's a ton of, not a lot of people are getting out to this, so that it's understandable how some of these can get lost. And it's also how, guys that, things get weird after the first round, especially the second and third and whatnot. A bunch of names pop up that you're like, what the heck is going on? It's stuff like this. But Miles Hinton out of Michigan started 15 games at right tackle for Stanford in 21 and 22 before transferring. At Michigan, he was benched in 2023 after 5 starts before bouncing back to start 10 games at left tackle in 2024. Described as a true renaissance man by his high school coach, marine biology major with environmental interests, avid fisherman. His father, Chris, played 13 seasons at tackle and made 7 Pro Bowls. Arms 34 1/8 inch, hands 10 1/4. Just 19 reps on the bench. 4-star recruit from Johns Creek, Georgia. Also competed in basketball and track as a prep and won state championship in the discus. Positives. Good Lord. First comment. He's got first-round talent. Okay. He's got first-round talent. So impossible that Miles Hinton goes undrafted. Impossible. Not to say that this guy would even draft them in the first round necessarily, but even if they would take him in the third, how does he fall out of the seventh? That's a wild comment. He's huge. He's incredibly long. This guy could be a red, solid starter player if he had a high give a you-know-what factor, a higher give a S factor. In other words, he doesn't care. Sometimes when he's wrong, he's still right because he's too big and too athletic. So the positives are even negatives, but it's hard to take away from the first-round talent thing. Negatives. He's a complete roll of the dice. Not mean, not aggressive or violent. He's finesse all day. He gives up on too many plays. One scout described him as soft. Quote, I don't think he's much. That's rude. All right, let's take a break. We'll rip through the final 5 here of the next 5, and we'll see where we go from there. We'll be right back. All right, so their number 11 is Cameron Williams out of Texas. This is the consensus number, 67 overall. So, I mean, he's a lot higher on the consensus board than what they have here. But they got 6'5.5", 317 pounds. The one note is played right tackle there. Not a very good athlete. Struggles with movement. Put him inside. In the playoffs, he was getting run by. So maybe that's the move. Put him inside. He'll be all right. Number 12, Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. That is, we're all over the place. Consensus 171. He is moving up the board a little bit here, but he's a ways down. 6'7.5", 341 pounds, 5'1", 40-yard dash. Transfer from Princeton over the summer of 2024. Super intelligent and already has been accepted into multiple law schools. He's a massive kid. People will want to try to develop him further. It makes sense. Then you got Logan Brown out of Kansas. He's actually one spot after Jalen Travis, so he's at 183. 6'6.5", 311 pounds, 5'1", 40-yard dash. His measurables look fantastic on paper. He draws your attention with his build, but he's pigeon-toed and very stiff. His tape is just okay. He's a third-day guy. Kind of checks out with where he is on the board here. Then they got Carson Vinson. There's another guy on the consensus big board over at NFL Mock Draft Database who is listed as an interior guy, but he's over at 222 overall on the interior out of Alabama A&M. Just the most random people on these top 15. We're obviously going for size here. 6'7", 321 pounds, 5'17", 40-yard dash. He was a 5th or 6th year senior. He didn't leave Alabama A&M. He stayed loyal to the program. There are a lot of reasons to like Carson Vinson. He is a project to get stronger and all that, but he's got feet and he's got length, 34.5-inch arms. He's gonna be overdrafted. Not in the first 2 nights. He'll be a third-day guy that people will really, really want to work with because he can move. All right, fair enough. And then finally, at number 15, it would be a really weird year if we didn't have any Wisconsin guys, and we got one, although consensus is at 209. He's actually right after Jalen Travis and Logan Brown. 209, Jack Nelson, offensive tackle out of Wisconsin, 6'7", 318 pounds. I've been waiting for Jack to ascend over the last 3 years, and I still haven't seen it. He gets drafted, and he'll be a backup. So there are the top 15, according to Mr. Bob McGinn. But why don't we end on this? Maybe. We'll see how long this takes. Easton Butler over here, keeping track of the Packers' prospect visits and whatnot. We got, I'm going to go from like the 20th. I don't remember where we left off, but we got an update from one of the people met at the Shrine Bowl. It's a Oregon State offensive tackle, Gerald Christian Lichter. Although I don't think that's his name. I think it's Gerard Christian Lichtenhan. That is, never mind. Just don't worry about it. You can make a lot of jokes out of that name. Pro Day visits. There's a bunch via Tony Pauline, but Georgia Tech defensive tackle Zeke Biggers, Syracuse edge rusher Fadel Diggs, Kansas State offensive lineman Easton Kilty. And then we got different reporters from here, but Wolford defensive lineman Anthony Latany, Jacksonville State wide receiver Flip Rudolph, FSU defensive lineman Sion Lolahea, BYU DB Marquez Collins. And then for top 30 visits, what they have so far, Washington State offensive lineman Esse Pole, or Essapole, I don't know. Texas A&M edge Shamar Stewart, we talked about that. Tennessee edge James Pierce, we talked about that. Arkansas center Jacob Bayer. And then the recent one I just saw yesterday, Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond. And I did a little bit of digging on this. I don't I'm going so far down a rabbit hole, and I don't even know. It's what we would have talked about today if it wasn't for the thing that we're going through right now. I'm really down the rabbit hole on this speed thing, and my mind is just spinning. But let me just put it this way. When you actually look at functional speed on a football field, it is nowhere near. And it's helping me to understand certain things, like why a bigger receiver makes more sense, because you can fight through contact and things. But just some food for thought so we don't dig into it. Try to, let's say a guy can run 23 miles an hour at max speed doing a 40-yard dash. First of all, a 40-yard dash is not the same as standing up and running a go route or something. But let's just say they have that ability. Imagine running and you're trying to get around people, you're fighting through contact and all that kind of stuff, over, let's say, 20 yards. How many miles per hour do you think that a person is going? Little bits of interference and contact make a shocking amount of difference in what functional speed actually is. And by functional speed, I just mean actually calculate the speed that a person went when you say they went this far over this amount of time. All that speed goes to nothing. Nobody's running 23 miles an hour. The only time you ever see those numbers, by the way, because it's like, oh, I've seen that before, it's after the catch stuff. It's breakaway speed. Nobody is running routes at 23 miles an hour. Now, maybe there's somebody that goes completely untouched somewhere out there, and I will continue my quest of finding the fastest route in the world. But I can tell you right now, I have not found a speed. There are very consistent speeds, by the way. I have not found a speed anywhere even remotely close to 23 miles an hour. I haven't seen a single speed that would translate to a 40 time. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you can throw the 4.4 anythings out the door. You can throw the 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, and it goes on for a long time right out the window. So I don't want to say speed is useless, but the way that we comprehend speed as 40 time is nonsense. And that's all I've learned so far. And I'm trying to figure out what a good gauge of speed is. And I can certainly tell you that being able to run in a straight line is one of the most important things, as silly as that sounds. Because if you think about it, 20 yards is not 20 yards if you're not running straight. If somebody pushes you and that becomes an arc, you know that 20 yards turns into 23, 4, 5, however many yards it is. What does that do to your overall speed? Because I'm still judging you to get to that 15-yard, 20-yard mark. It just took you longer because it was a longer route. If you can't get through somebody in press coverage, you've seen that when you try to fight through contact. You're running at 3 miles an hour. You're basically crawling trying to get past this guy. So I'm going to be looking for different things in different people. Guys like Devontae who have that ability to just do some crazy stuff at the line of scrimmage to go untouched and get north and south. I don't care if you run a 4.53. You're going to beat the 4.33 guy to that 20-yard mark every single time if you can just beat that guy so bad he can't get his hands on you. And bigger guys that can fight through contact are going to be way faster. I don't care what your 40 time is. They're going to be way faster getting down the field than a smaller guy who can't fight through contact. So I bring that up because Isaiah Bond is extremely fast. He really is. I just don't know how much I care. There are going to be very rare instances where they're able to kind of get past people, and it's going to matter. But that's the other thing. How often? You know how much I have to watch film on a guy just to finally see a go route? And then to try to find a go route where it isn't just a lot of contact or some form of constant interference, like just a linebacker coming over and just popping you in the shoulder. It's like, dang it, dude. Thought I was going to get a free release and actually see how fast this guy is on a football field. I've never seen it. I watched 3 different or maybe 4 different speed receivers. I didn't see a single uninterrupted go route. Not one. So, anyways, again, I'm going to continue exploring that. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. But what I just told you is pretty much all I know right now. And I am on a quest to find what actually makes a fast receiver. Because there are guys, I mean, one of the funny things too is go to NFL.com, go to their combine page, go to their little IQ thing or whatever it's called where it shows all the miles per hour data and everything. If you go all the way down to the bottom and all the way to the right, it shows you all the different drills. And you can go through the different routes that they have them run, a go route, a comeback route, or whatever. They're all different. Who's at the top? Different guys run different routes at different speeds. Why? What the heck is happening? And then again, your ability to get off the line and get off a press and fight through contact and, your break speed. Because again, you're not usually running straight. You got to run at an angle. Anyways, whatever. That's for another time. What else we got? Anything? Reported interest via Tony Pauline. The Packers are reportedly interested in Ben Chukwuma, offensive lineman. I'll do some digging and figure that out. I'm sure it's in my pro day notes and whatnot. And then local pro day invitees. NIU defensive back Javon Bird. Met with him on the 24th. They've also got a tab here if you're interested. They got a whole bunch of games that scouts have reportedly been at. Bowl games, all kinds of stuff that they've been to. Games that Brian Gutekunst directly has been to. Clemson and Georgia. One of 4 GMs that attended. That was week 1. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. One of 5 GMs that was there. Wisconsin, Alabama. Director of College Scouting, Matt Malaspina, was at Penn State, West Virginia in week 1. Director of Football Operations, Milt Henderson, I think it's Hendrickson, was at Iowa, Illinois State week 1. Goot was also reportedly at the Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, and Combine, obviously. So as of right now, the Packers have not reportedly met with any quarterbacks. They've met with, 2, 4, 7 wide receivers, including Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond, Jalen Noel, Efton Chisholm, and Will Shepard. They met with 1 running back, and that's R.J. Harvey out of UCF. They've met with 2 tight ends, Colston Loveland and Harold Fannin Jr., which is kind of interesting. They've met with 2 guys at the top. They've met with 2 centers, Jared Wilson out of Georgia, and Jacob Bayer out of Arkansas was in for the top 30 visit. They've met with 3 guards, Jack Conley of Boston College, Joe Huber of Wisconsin, and Timothy McKay out of North Carolina State. Tackles, they've met with 4, Ozzie Trapio, who we just talked about, Jalen Rivers out of Miami, Bryce Cabledew, Kansas, and then Essa Pohl, Washington State, was in for a top 30 visit. Corners, they've met a ton. 3, 6, 8 corners they've met with. Benjamin Morrison of Notre Dame, Jahdae Barron of Texas, Trey Amos of Ole Miss, so obviously looking at the guys in that number 1 pick range. And then Jacob Parrish, Kansas State, Quincy Riley of Louisville, Mac McWilliams of UCF, Kobe Bryant of Kansas, B.J. Adams, UCF. Met with 4 safeties, Jonas Sanker of Virginia, Elijah Clark, Syracuse, R.J. McKinns, Clemson, Hunter Wohler of Wisconsin. Linebackers, they've met with 5. Jihad Campbell of Alabama, Cody Linderbaum of Minnesota, Smail Mondin. I wish they would expand these so I could read them. Nicholas Martin of Oklahoma State, and Shamar James of Florida. Bunch of interior defensive linemen. Looks like 3, 6, 9, 10 of them. Kenneth Grant of Michigan, Walter Nolan of Ole Miss, Alfred Collins from Texas, C.J. West, Indiana, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech, Cam Horsley of Boston College, Joe Evans, UTSA. Nazir Stackhouse, Georgia. Zeke Biggers, Georgia Tech. Jordan Phillips, Maryland. Edge rushers, they met with 3, 6, 7 of them. They've had 2 in for top 30 visits, James Pierce and Shamar Stewart. And then they also met with Princely Umunmalin, who I'm a big fan of. Tyler Barron of Miami. Ja Joyner of Minnesota. I think I like Joyner too. Fadel Diggs of Syracuse. And Elijah Alston of Miami. So far, that's what we got. And again, the meetings don't necessarily denote interest, but every year, guys that they meet with, they do end up drafting. So it's worth getting to know these guys and getting familiar with somebody that's about to be a Green Bay Packer. All right, that's going to do it. I'll just tell you now, there's a chance there will be no podcasts for tomorrow, which would mean tonight's Packernet After Dark and tomorrow. Got to do taxes. And I just got to do it. I just got to friggin' grind. So I will start it today. If I get it done, then we're good for tomorrow. But I might just be working on that tomorrow. It's a freaking process, man. It'd be less of a process if I actually did any amount of work throughout the season, but I don't. So I'm starting completely from scratch. But anyways, y'all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.